Lisa stared at her computer screen, but her eyes weren't really focused on the spreadsheet in front of her. Instead, she was watching Jessica across the office, who was on yet another phone call with her mother. The conversation was the same as always, warm, loving, and completely natural. "Mom, you don't have to pick up Tommy from soccer practice," Jessica was saying, her voice carrying that easy affection Lisa had never experienced. "I know you're tired from watching the kids yesterday." Lisa's jaw tightened as she listened. There it was again, that perfect relationship Jessica had with her mother. The kind of relationship Lisa had only seen in movies growing up. Jessica's mom helped with everything. She picked up the grandkids when Jessica worked late. She brought over homemade dinners when Jessica was stressed. She even helped fold laundry and clean the house on weekends. "You're such a lifesaver, Mom," Jessica continued, laughing at something her mother said. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Lisa turned back to her computer, her fingers hitting the keys a little too hard. She'd been working at the marketing firm for 3 years now, sitting just 2 desks away from Jessica. 3 years of listening to these daily phone calls. 3 years of watching Jessica's face light up whenever her mother's name appeared on her phone screen. It wasn't that Lisa hated Jessica personally. In fact, Jessica was probably one of the nicest people in the office. She always remembered everyone's birthdays, brought extra coffee for the team, and never complained when she had to stay late. But that relationship with her mother, it was like a constant reminder of everything Lisa had missed out on. Lisa's own mother had been absent for most of her childhood, working multiple jobs just to keep food on the table. When her mother wasn't working, she was exhausted, stressed, or dealing with her own problems. There were no warm phone calls, no surprise visits with homemade meals, no help with anything, really. Lisa had learned early on that she could only depend on herself. "My mom wants to take the kids to the zoo this weekend," Jessica was telling their coworker Beth during lunch break. "She says she's been looking forward to it all week. Sometimes I feel guilty about how much she helps, but she insists she loves spending time with them." Beth smiled. "That's so sweet. My mom lives across the country, so I'm jealous of that relationship you two have." Lisa stirred her salad, listening from the next table. Even Beth was envious of Jessica's situation. It seemed like everyone could see how special that bond was. Everyone except Jessica, who took it completely for granted. "I know I'm lucky," Jessica admitted. "Though sometimes I wonder if I rely on her too much. Like, should a grown woman really need her mom to help with everything?" There it was, the first crack Lisa had been waiting for. Jessica actually had doubts about the relationship. That was interesting. Later that afternoon, Lisa found herself in the break room at the same time as Jessica. They'd worked together for years but rarely had one-on-one conversations. Lisa decided this was her chance. "Hey, Jessica," Lisa said casually, pouring herself coffee. "I couldn't help but overhear you talking about your mom helping with the kids earlier." Jessica looked up from microwaving her leftovers. "Oh yeah, she's amazing. I don't know how single parents do it without that kind of support." Lisa nodded thoughtfully. "It's great that she's so involved. Though I have to ask, don't you ever feel like you're missing out on figuring things out for yourself?" Jessica paused, her hand still on the microwave door. "What do you mean?" "Well, I just think there's something to be said for independence, you know?" Lisa kept her voice light and friendly. "My mom wasn't around much when I was growing up, and while it was hard, it taught me to be really self-reliant. I learned to solve my own problems, make my own decisions. Sometimes I wonder if kids today are missing out on that kind of growth when grandparents are so hands-on." Jessica frowned slightly. "I never thought about it that way." "Oh, don't get me wrong," Lisa quickly added. "Your mom sounds wonderful. It's just that sometimes I see parents who are so dependent on their own parents that they never really learn to trust their own instincts. But that's probably not your situation at all." The seed was planted. Lisa could see Jessica thinking about it, turning the idea over in her mind. The microwave beeped, but Jessica didn't move right away. "I mean, I do make my own parenting decisions," Jessica said slowly. "But you're right that I rely on her for a lot of practical help." "And there's nothing wrong with help," Lisa said, stirring sugar into her coffee. "I just sometimes wonder if there's a difference between help and, well, never mind. It's not my place to say." "No, what were you going to say?" Jessica asked. Lisa hesitated as if she didn't want to overstep. "It's just that I've seen situations where grandparents are so involved that the actual parents never get to feel fully confident in their own abilities." The kids start seeing Grandma as the real authority figure. But like I said, that's probably not happening in your case. Jessica's expression had changed. She looked uncertain now, maybe even a little worried. Do you think that could be happening with my kids? Oh no, I'm sure it's fine, Lisa said quickly. Your kids clearly love you. I just think it's something to keep an eye on, that's all. Some boundaries can actually strengthen relationships in the long run. Jessica nodded slowly, finally taking her lunch out of the microwave. Yeah, maybe you're right. I hadn't really considered that perspective before. As they walked back to their desks, Lisa felt a small thrill of satisfaction. The conversation had gone even better than she'd hoped. Jessica was actually questioning her relationship with her mother now, wondering if all that support and love might somehow be harmful. Over the next few days, Lisa noticed Jessica seemed more distant during her phone calls with her mother. The conversations were shorter, less frequent. When her mother offered to help with something, Jessica would sometimes decline, saying she needed to handle it herself. Lisa watched all of this with growing excitement. It was working. She was actually managing to create doubt in Jessica's mind about the one relationship that had always made Lisa feel so jealous and left out. But this was just the beginning. Lisa had bigger plans. She started paying closer attention to everything Jessica shared about her family life. She made mental notes about Jessica's schedule, her children's activities, even the small details Jessica mentioned about her mother's daily routine. Knowledge was power, and Lisa was gathering as much as she could. The beautiful thing was that Jessica had no idea what was happening. She thought Lisa was just being a concerned friend, offering a different perspective. She had no clue that every doubt Lisa planted was intentional. Every question designed to make Jessica second-guess the relationship she'd always cherished. Lisa had spent years feeling bitter about her own childhood, watching other people enjoy the kind of maternal love she'd never experienced. Now finally, she was doing something about it. If she couldn't have that perfect mother-daughter relationship, then maybe Jessica didn't deserve to have it either. After all, it wasn't fair. Why should some people get everything handed to them while others had to struggle alone? Lisa was just evening the playing field, helping Jessica see that maybe independence wasn't such a bad thing. But Lisa was about to discover that some actions have consequences she never saw coming. The doubts Lisa had planted in Jessica's mind were growing like weeds. Over the following weeks, Lisa watched with satisfaction as Jessica became more hesitant about accepting her mother's help. But Lisa wasn't satisfied with just creating uncertainty. She wanted to do more damage. It started small. During team meetings, when Jessica would mention needing to leave early for a family commitment, Lisa would make subtle comments. "Oh, is your mom handling pickup duty again?" Lisa would ask with a knowing smile. "That's convenient." Or when Jessica looked tired after a long night with sick kids, Lisa would say, "Maybe this is one of those times where handling it yourself actually builds character, you know?" Lisa was careful to always sound supportive and friendly. She never directly criticized Jessica's mother. Instead, she positioned herself as someone who cared about Jessica's personal growth and independence. The other co-workers started noticing the change in Jessica too. Beth mentioned that Jessica seemed more stressed lately, less confident about her parenting decisions. Lisa would nod sympathetically. "Growing pains," Lisa would say. "It's probably healthy for her to start trusting her own instincts more." But Lisa's real plan was much bigger than office conversations. She had been studying Jessica's social media accounts, learning about her family's routines and relationships. Jessica posted frequently about family activities, often featuring her mother in photos and videos. The comments were always positive, friends and family members praising the close relationship and the grandmother's involvement with the kids. Lisa created a fake social media account, using a generic name and stock photo. She spent time building a believable profile, adding interests and connections that would make the account seem real. Then she started commenting on Jessica's family posts. At first, the comments were subtle. On a photo of Jessica's mother reading to the grandchildren, Lisa's fake account commented, "Beautiful family. Just wondering though, do the kids ever get one-on-one time with mom, or is grandma always around?" On a post about Jessica's mother bringing dinner to the family, the fake account wrote, "Sweet gesture, but isn't it important for kids to see their parents handling household responsibilities independently?" Lisa made sure the comments weren't obviously mean or inappropriate. They were phrased as innocent questions or gentle observations, the kind that might come from a well-meaning but slightly nosy acquaintance. She created several more fake accounts and had them make similar comments. Soon, Jessica's family posts were attracting questions about boundaries, independence, and whether the grandmother might be too involved. Jessica started posting less frequently about her mother. When she did share family photos, Lisa noticed she often disabled comments entirely. At work, Jessica seemed increasingly anxious. She would take her mother's phone calls in private now, often stepping outside or into an empty conference room. The warm, easy conversations Lisa had overheard for years were becoming tense, whispered discussions. Lisa decided it was time to escalate things further. She knew Jessica's mother volunteered at the local community center on Tuesday mornings. Jessica had mentioned it several times over the years, always proudly talking about how active and helpful her mother was in the community. Lisa drove to the community center one Tuesday and observed from the parking lot. She watched Jessica's mother arrive, greeting other volunteers warmly. She was clearly well-liked and respected there. Lisa waited until Jessica's mother was alone, taking a break in the small garden area behind the building. Then she approached, pretending to be another community member. "Excuse me," Lisa said, putting on her most concerned expression. "Are you Jessica's mother?" "I think I know your daughter from around the neighborhood." Jessica's mother smiled warmly. "Yes, that's me. Are you a friend of Jessica's?" "Sort of," Lisa said. "Actually, I've been worried about her lately. She seems really stressed whenever I see her. I was wondering if everything was okay at home." The older woman's face immediately showed concern. "Stressed? What do you mean?" Lisa looked uncomfortable, as if she didn't want to be sharing this information. "Well, she's mentioned feeling overwhelmed with all the help she gets. She said something about needing more space to figure things out on her own, but she doesn't know how to ask for it without hurting feelings." Jessica's mother went very still. "She said that? I probably shouldn't have mentioned it," Lisa said quickly. "I just thought maybe you should know. She seems to feel guilty about needing so much support, like she should be more independent. But she's too kind to say anything directly." "I had no idea she felt that way," Jessica's mother said softly. "Oh, I'm sure it's nothing serious," Lisa said. "She just mentioned wanting to try handling more things herself, to prove she can do it. You know how it is. Sometimes we need to step back to let our adult children grow." Lisa left the community center feeling triumphant. She had successfully planted the idea that Jessica wanted distance but was too polite to ask for it. Now Jessica's mother would likely start pulling back, thinking she was doing what Jessica wanted. The plan worked even better than Lisa had hoped. Within days, Jessica's mother stopped offering to help as much. When Jessica called to ask if she could pick up the kids from school, her mother would suggest that Jessica try to rearrange her schedule instead. When Jessica mentioned being overwhelmed with household tasks, her mother would offer encouragement rather than practical help. Jessica was clearly confused and hurt by the change. At work, she looked exhausted. The dark circles under her eyes were getting worse, and she seemed to be struggling with basic tasks that used to be manageable when she had her mother's support. "Is everything okay?" Beth asked Jessica one afternoon when she appeared particularly frazzled. "I think so," Jessica said uncertainly. "My mom has been acting strange lately. She's not offering to help as much, and when I ask for help, she suggests I handle things myself. I don't know if I did something wrong." Lisa listened from her nearby desk, pretending to be focused on her work. This was exactly what she had wanted. Jessica feeling abandoned and confused, wondering what she had done to damage her relationship with her mother. But Lisa wasn't done yet. She had one more move planned, and this one would create a rift that might be impossible to repair. She had been collecting information about Jessica's family for weeks now. She knew where the kids went to school, what activities they participated in, and which days Jessica's mother usually helped with childcare. She had all the details she needed for her final manipulation. Lisa was about to make a phone call that would change everything. She would pretend to be someone she wasn't, tell lies that would hurt innocent people, and destroy a relationship that had brought joy to multiple generations. As she reached for her phone, Lisa felt a rush of excitement. Soon, Jessica would know what it felt like to lose the one person who had always been there for her. She would understand the loneliness and isolation that Lisa had lived with her entire life. But Lisa had no idea that her carefully constructed plan was about to backfire in ways she could never have imagined. The lie she was about to tell would soon be exposed, and the consequences would be swift and devastating. The phone call she was planning would indeed change everything, but not in the way she expected. Lisa sat in her car outside Jessica's neighborhood, her phone in her hand. She had been planning this moment for weeks, and now it was time to execute the final phase of her plan. She had researched Jessica's mother's daily routine and knew she would be home alone this afternoon while Jessica was at work and the kids were at school. Taking a deep breath, Lisa dialed the number. Her heart was racing, but she felt determined. This was her chance to create the kind of lasting damage that would finally give Jessica a taste of what real loss felt like. "Hello?" Jessica's mother answered on the third ring. "Hi, Mrs. Chen," Lisa said, using the warm, familiar tone she had practiced. "This is Amy, one of Jessica's close friends from work. I hope I'm not bothering you." "Oh, Amy, of course Jessica has mentioned you." "How are you, dear?" Lisa felt a stab of guilt at the genuine warmth in the older woman's voice, but she pushed it aside. "I'm fine, thank you. Actually, I'm calling because I'm worried about Jessica, and I wasn't sure who else to talk to." "Worried? What's wrong?" The concern in Mrs. Chen's voice was immediate and real. "Well," Lisa said, pausing as if she was struggling with how to say this, "Jessica has been really upset at work lately. She's been talking about feeling suffocated and overwhelmed, and when I asked her about it, she mentioned that she feels like she can't make her own decisions anymore." There was silence on the other end of the line. She specifically mentioned feeling like she needs space from family interference. Lisa continued, making her voice sound reluctant and sympathetic. "She said she loves you dearly, but she feels like she can't grow as a parent when someone else is always stepping in to help. She's been losing sleep over it, trying to figure out how to ask for more independence without hurting your feelings." I had no idea she felt that way," Mrs. Chen said, her voice becoming smaller. "She didn't want me to call you," Lisa said quickly. "She made me promise not to say anything, but I could see how much it was affecting her, and I thought maybe if you knew how she was feeling, you could give her the space she needs. She's been saying she wants to prove to herself and her kids that she can handle things on her own." Lisa heard Mrs. Chen take a shaky breath. "Did she really say she felt suffocated?" "Those were her exact words," Lisa lied smoothly. "She said she knows you mean well, but she feels like she's never learned to trust her own parenting instincts because someone else is always there to take over. She's worried that her kids see you as the primary caregiver instead of her." The silence stretched on for so long that Lisa wondered if the call had dropped. "Mrs. Chen, are you still there?" "Yes, I'm here," came the quiet reply. "Thank you for telling me, Amy. I had no idea Jessica was struggling with this. I thought I was helping." "You were helping," Lisa said, injecting false kindness into her voice. "But sometimes the best help is stepping back and letting someone handle things independently. Jessica just needs to know that you believe in her ability to be a good mother on her own." "Of course I believe in her," Mrs. Chen said, and Lisa could hear tears in her voice. "She's a wonderful mother. I never meant to make her feel incapable." "I know you didn't," Lisa said. "Maybe if you just pulled back a little, let her reach out when she specifically asks for help rather than offering all the time." She mentioned that she feels guilty saying no to your offers, even when she wants to try handling things herself. "I understand," Mrs. Chen said softly. "I'll give her the space she needs. Thank you for caring enough about her to call me." After hanging up, Lisa sat in her car feeling a mixture of triumph and unease. The conversation had gone exactly as planned. Mrs. Chen believed every word and was clearly planning to withdraw her support from Jessica immediately. Lisa drove back to work, imagining how confused and hurt Jessica would be when her mother suddenly became distant and unavailable. Finally, Jessica would understand what it felt like to face life's challenges without that safety net of unconditional support. The effects were immediate and devastating. That very afternoon, Jessica called her mother to ask if she could pick up Tommy from soccer practice because Jessica had an emergency meeting that ran late. "I think you should try to figure out another solution," Mrs. Chen said, her voice strained and formal. "You're capable of handling this yourself." Jessica was stunned. "Mom, what's wrong?" "You sound upset." "Nothing's wrong, dear. I just think it's important for you to manage these things independently." Jessica ended the call feeling completely bewildered. She had to leave her meeting early, rushing across town to pick up Tommy before the soccer field closed. She kept replaying the conversation with her mother, trying to understand what had changed. That evening, when Jessica called to share Tommy's excitement about scoring his first goal, Mrs. Chen's response was polite but distant. "That's wonderful, dear. I'm sure you're very proud." "Mom, are you angry with me about something?" Jessica asked directly. "Not angry," Mrs. Chen said carefully. "I just think maybe I've been too involved in your family life. You're an adult, and you should have the freedom to make your own choices without interference." Jessica felt like the ground had shifted beneath her feet. "Interference? Mom, you've never interfered. You've been the most supportive—" "I need to go now," Mrs. Chen interrupted gently. "Give my love to the children." Over the next few days, the pattern continued. Jessica's mother declined to help with childcare, stopped bringing over meals, and gave short formal responses to what used to be long, warm conversations. Jessica was falling apart. Without her mother's support, she was struggling to manage work deadlines and family responsibilities. She was exhausted, confused, and heartbroken. The worst part was not understanding why her mother had suddenly become a stranger. At work, Jessica's performance was suffering. She was late to meetings, distracted during presentations, and making mistakes on projects she normally handled easily. "Jessica, can I talk to you?" Their supervisor, Mr. Rodriguez, asked after a particularly difficult client presentation. "Of course," Jessica said, though she looked like she might burst into tears. "Is everything okay at home? Your work has been inconsistent lately, and that's not like you." Jessica struggled to explain without breaking down completely. "I'm having some family issues. I think my mother is angry with me, but I don't know why. She's been my main support system, and now she won't even talk to me properly." Mr. Rodriguez looked concerned. "Have you tried asking her directly what's wrong?" "I have, but she just says she wants to give me more independence. It doesn't make sense. We've always had such a close relationship, and suddenly it's like she doesn't want anything to do with me or the kids." Lisa, who was working at a nearby desk, couldn't help but overhear. She felt a surge of satisfaction hearing Jessica's pain and confusion. This was exactly what she had wanted to achieve. But Lisa's celebration was premature. What she didn't know was that Jessica had a brother who worked in cybersecurity, and Jessica was about to share her confusion and pain with him. She also didn't know that Mrs. Chen, despite her hurt feelings, was beginning to have doubts about the phone call from Amy. Something about the conversation hadn't felt quite right, and she was starting to question whether Jessica had really said those things. Most importantly, Lisa didn't know that several people at work had started noticing her increased interest in Jessica's family problems, and her subtle comments were beginning to form a pattern that wouldn't stay hidden much longer. The web of lies Lisa had carefully constructed was about to unravel, and when it did, the consequences would be swift and overwhelming. She had succeeded in temporarily destroying Jessica's relationship with her mother, but that success was about to become the very thing that exposed her cruel manipulation. The truth was coming, and Lisa was completely unprepared for what would happen when her actions finally caught up with her. Jessica's breaking point came on a Thursday morning when her 6-year-old daughter, Katie, woke up with a high fever and stomach pain. Jessica called in sick to work and spent the morning in the pediatrician's waiting room, holding her miserable daughter while fielding urgent work emails on her phone. Normally, this would have been the kind of situation where her mother would appear with soup, children's medicine, and calm reassurance. Instead, Jessica was handling everything alone, feeling overwhelmed and scared. When Katie's fever spiked to 103 degrees, Jessica called her mother in tears. "Mom, I know you said you want me to be more independent, but Katie is really sick and I'm scared. Could you maybe come over? Just for a little while?" There was a long pause before Mrs. Chen responded. "I think you're capable of handling this, Jessica. You're a good mother. But Mom, I need help. I don't understand why you're being like this. What did I do wrong?" "You didn't do anything wrong," Mrs. Chen said, her voice breaking slightly. I think maybe I need to step back like you wanted." "Like I wanted?" Jessica was completely bewildered. "When did I ever say I wanted you to step back?" "Mom, I've never wanted that. You're my best friend. You're the person I turn to for everything." Mrs. Chen went quiet again. When she spoke, her voice was uncertain. "But Amy said—" "Amy? Who's Amy?" "Your friend from work. She called last week and told me you were feeling suffocated. She said you wanted independence but didn't know how to ask for it." Jessica felt cold dread wash over her. "Mom, I don't have a friend named Amy at work. I have no idea who called you, but it wasn't someone who knows me. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Mom? Are you there? Jessica, Mrs. Chen whispered. If you don't know anyone named Amy, then who called me? That evening, after Katie's fever had broken and she was sleeping peacefully, Jessica sat down with her laptop and started making a list of everyone she worked with. She wrote down every Amy, Amanda, and similar name she could think of, but none of them made sense as someone who would call her mother. She called her brother David, who worked in tech security. David, this is going to sound crazy, but I think someone has been pretending to be my friend and lying to Mom about me. What kind of lies? David asked, his professional instincts kicking in. Jessica explained the whole situation, the mysterious phone call, her mother's sudden distance, and the complete breakdown of their relationship over the past week. This sounds like deliberate sabotage, David said grimly. Do you have any idea who might want to hurt your relationship with Mom? I can't think of anyone, Jessica said. I mean, who would do something like that? It's so cruel and pointless. Like, what about coworkers? Anyone who seems jealous of your family situation or has been asking a lot of questions about your personal life? Jessica thought about it. Well, Lisa has been making some weird comments lately about independence and boundaries, but she's been really supportive, like she's trying to help me grow as a person. What kind of comments? As Jessica described Lisa's recent behavior, David's suspicions grew stronger. Jess, I think this Lisa person might be your problem. Can you think of any other weird things that have happened recently? Comments on social media, strange interactions, anything? Jessica suddenly remembered the odd comments that had started appearing on her family photos. Actually, yes. I've been getting these strange comments on my posts about Mom and the kids. People asking if Mom is too involved, stuff like that. I thought they were just nosy strangers. Can you screenshot those comments and send them to me? And give me Lisa's full name. Within 2 hours, David had traced the fake social media accounts back to Lisa's home IP address. He also found digital footprints linking her to the creation of multiple fake profiles, all designed to look like concerned community members. Jess, I've got bad news and good news, David called to tell her. The bad news is that this Lisa person has been running a systematic campaign to undermine your relationship with Mom. She created fake social media accounts, made those comments on your posts, and almost certainly made that phone call pretending to be your friend. Jessica felt sick. Why would she do something like that? The good news is that I have proof. Screenshots, IP traces, metadata from the fake accounts. This isn't just cruel, it's harassment, and possibly identity fraud since she impersonated someone you know. The next morning, Jessica walked into work with a folder full of David's evidence and a recording app on her phone. She was done being a victim. She went straight to HR first, showing them the documentation of Lisa's harassment campaign. Then she approached Lisa's desk, with Beth and 2 other coworkers nearby as witnesses. Lisa, can I talk to you for a minute? Jessica's voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. Of course, Lisa said, looking up with that familiar, concerned expression. You look upset. Is everything okay? Actually, I wanted to thank you for your advice about independence and boundaries with my mother, Jessica said, turning on her recording app discreetly. Lisa smiled. Oh, you're welcome. I hope it's been helpful. It really has. In fact, it got me thinking about fake friends and people who pretend to care while actually trying to hurt you. You know, people who might even go so far as to create fake social media accounts or make phone calls pretending to be someone they're not. Lisa's smile faltered. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean someone who would call my mother pretending to be my friend Amy, telling her lies about how I felt suffocated and wanted her to back off. Lisa's face went white. Jessica, I have no idea what you're talking about. Really? Because my brother is in cybersecurity, and he traced all those fake social media comments back to your home internet connection. He also has records of the fake accounts you created, all designed to make people think my mother was too involved in my life. Beth and the other coworkers were staring in shock. Lisa looked around desperately, realizing that her secret was out and witnesses were everywhere. I was just trying to help, Lisa said weakly. I thought maybe you needed to be more independent. You thought destroying my relationship with my mother would help me. Jessica's voice was rising. You made her think I didn't want her in my life. You broke her heart and mind because you were jealous of what we had. That's not... I didn't mean... Lisa stammered. Yes, you did. Jessica said firmly. You absolutely meant to hurt us. And you succeeded. My daughter was sick yesterday and I was terrified and alone because my mother thought I didn't want her help anymore. By now, other co-workers were gathering around, drawn by the commotion. Lisa realized that everyone was staring at her with disgust and shock. I'm sorry, Lisa whispered. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix what you broke, Jessica said. But maybe this will prevent you from doing it to someone else. Jessica walked straight to Mr. Rodriguez's office with her evidence while Lisa sat at her desk. Realizing that her world was about to collapse completely, the truth was finally out, and the consequences were about to be swift and devastating. Lisa's termination was swift and decisive. By the end of that day, she was escorted out of the building with her personal belongings in a cardboard box, facing not only the loss of her job, but potential legal action for harassment and identity fraud. Mr. Rodriguez had been horrified by the evidence Jessica presented. In 20 years of managing teams, I've never seen anything this deliberately malicious, he told Jessica. We take workplace harassment very seriously, and this goes far beyond anything we can tolerate. The company's legal department was already reviewing the case, and they made it clear to Lisa that Jessica's family had grounds for both civil and criminal charges. The fake social media accounts, the impersonation during the phone call, and the systematic campaign of harassment created a pattern of behavior that could result in serious legal consequences. But the professional fallout was only the beginning of Lisa's problems. Word spread quickly through their industry network. Lisa discovered that finding new employment would be nearly impossible when potential employers learned why she had been terminated. The story of her elaborate scheme to destroy a co-worker's family relationship became a cautionary tale that followed her wherever she went. Her own family's reaction was perhaps the most devastating blow of all. When Lisa's sister heard what had happened, she was appalled. I can't believe you would do something so cruel, her sister said during a painful phone conversation. That poor woman and her mother. How could you live with yourself, knowing you were causing them so much pain? Lisa's parents were equally horrified. Her father, who had always been distant but never openly disappointed in her, told her that he was ashamed of her actions. We raised you better than this, he said coldly. To think that you would destroy someone's family relationship out of jealousy is beyond understanding. You need serious help, Lisa. The irony was devastating. In trying to destroy Jessica's relationship with her mother, because she was jealous of their closeness, Lisa had managed to destroy her own relationships with the family members she did have. Her parents stopped calling regularly. Her sister canceled their planned holiday visit. Even her few friends began to distance themselves when they heard about what she had done. Lisa found herself truly alone for the first time in her life, and the isolation was crushing. Meanwhile, Jessica and her mother were rebuilding their relationship stronger than ever. The moment Mrs. Chen learned the truth about the fake phone call, she rushed to Jessica's house with tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry I believed that horrible woman, Mrs. Chen said, holding Jessica tightly. I should have known you would never say those things. I should have talked to you directly instead of pulling away. It's not your fault, Mom, Jessica assured her. She was very convincing and she knew exactly what to say to make you doubt yourself. The important thing is that we know the truth now. Their bond, which had been temporarily damaged by Lisa's lies, emerged even stronger because they had faced the crisis together and chosen to trust each other over the doubts that had been artificially planted. Jessica's children were thrilled to have their grandmother back in their lives. Katie, who was fully recovered from her illness, asked why Grandma had been acting weird for a while. Sometimes people try to cause problems between families, Jessica explained carefully. But the most important thing is that we love each other and we always talk honestly about our feelings. The community center where Mrs. Chen volunteered also rallied around the family when they heard what had happened. Several people remembered Lisa approaching Mrs. Chen that day and were able to provide additional evidence of her deceptive behavior. David, Jessica's brother, made sure that Lisa's online harassment was properly documented and reported to the relevant authorities. People need to understand that this kind of cyberstalking and impersonation has real consequences, he said. Lisa's fake social media accounts were permanently banned, and the platforms implemented additional security measures to prevent similar impersonation schemes. As the weeks passed, Lisa's situation continued to deteriorate. She was forced to move back in with her parents when she couldn't find work, but even that arrangement was strained and uncomfortable. Her parents made it clear that, while they wouldn't abandon her completely, they were deeply disappointed in her choices. The legal case against her was settled out of court, but it required Lisa to pay for Jessica's family's counseling costs and legal fees. She also had to sign agreements preventing her from contacting Jessica, her mother, or any members of their family ever again. Lisa was required to attend therapy as part of the settlement, and it was there that she finally began to confront the deep-seated jealousy and resentment that had driven her to such destructive behavior. You destroyed something beautiful because you couldn't bear to see other people have what you wanted, her therapist observed during one session. But instead of working on building your own meaningful relationships, you chose to tear down someone else's. The realization was painful but necessary. Lisa had spent years nursing her resentment about her difficult childhood and absent mother. But instead of seeking healing or working to build better relationships in her own life, she had channeled that pain into hurting innocent people. The worst part is that Jessica was never mean to me, Lisa admitted tearfully. She was actually kind and friendly. I hated her for having something I wanted, even though she never did anything wrong. The therapy helped Lisa understand her behavior, but it couldn't undo the damage she had caused or restore the life she had destroyed through her own choices. Jessica, meanwhile, found that the experience had taught her family valuable lessons about the importance of communication and trust. She and her mother made a pact to always talk directly about any concerns or misunderstandings, rather than letting doubts fester. The incident also brought Jessica closer to her co-workers, who had rallied around her during the crisis. Beth became a true friend, and even Mr. Rodriguez checked in regularly to make sure she was doing well. It's strange, Jessica told her mother one evening as they watched the kids play in the yard. Something so awful led to our relationship becoming even stronger than it was before. That's because real love survives attacks, Mrs. Chen replied. When someone tries to destroy genuine relationships with lies, the truth eventually comes out and the bonds become unbreakable. Lisa's story became a cautionary tale about the destructive power of jealousy and the importance of addressing personal issues through healthy means rather than lashing out at others. Her attempt to destroy Jessica's happiness had ultimately led to her own complete isolation and downfall. The consequences she faced were immediate and severe, proving that actions motivated by jealousy and malice often backfire in ways the perpetrator never expects. While Jessica's family grew stronger and closer, Lisa lost everything she had: her job, her reputation, her relationships, and her peace of mind. The lesson was clear. Trying to destroy other people's happiness out of jealousy only guarantees your own misery. Lisa learned this truth far too late, after the damage was already done and the consequences were irreversible.